Welcome to a new video of Kotlin for Beginners playlist. Today's video is going to be all about functions in Kotlin, and this is going to be the first video of the functions videos in this playlist. So far, we have been using a predefined function called main function, which is known as the entry point for every Kotlin application. Now, before learning how to make a function, let's know why we need functions in Kotlin or why we need custom functions. So functions just help us to make our code reusable, and it reduce complexity and separate concerns, not mentioning that it make our code more readable. Now, let's make a function. And you may have guessed it, the way to make a function is with the fun keyword here. So I'm going to start making a function that finds the sum or prints the sum of two numbers. So to do that, fun keyword here, and now name your function. So I'm going to name it sum of, and you open parentheses here. And within these parentheses, we add the arguments or the things or the parameters that this function expects us to give it. So here I'm going to add x, and this is the name of the argument. Then I'm going to specify its type with the colon, and it's of type int. Now I'm going to have another argument, so let's separate arguments with a comma. And here I'm going to name another argument, then I'm going to give it a type with a colon, and it's going to be an int. So after adding your signature or adding your function signature here, you must specify the type of this function or the return type of this function. So we have seen that readline and readLn returns a string and null string, and we have also tried a lot of functions that return something. Now our function will not return anything, so it's going to be unit here. So the way to add a return type to a function is with the colon here, and you specify the type. So unit means it will return nothing. And here we open the body of the function. Now we will print the sum of these variables here. So let's make a variable called sum, and here we add x to y. Once we're done, we print the sum here. Once we're done adding the functionality to our function, now it's time to use it in the main function. So I'm going to find the sum of two numbers. So sum of, for example, 10 and 20. Let's have another one, 15 and 4. And if we run the program now, so the sum of 10 and 20 is 30, and 50 and 4 is 19. When I said functions make our code reusable, I meant this one here. So instead of having this on the main, for example, to find the sum of y, which is 10, and x, which is 10, for example, you could just have a function, an external function that does this for you. And with every numbers that you don't have to have the same functionality here again. Rather, you should call the function that you have prepared for this operation here. Now we know how to make a function with a funky word. Then name your function in a camel case format. So this is called a camel case. You start every word that you name your function with a capital letter instead, except for the first one here. So if you add another thing, for example, sum of two numbers, you should write it like this. So this is just a naming convention. You don't have to obey this rule, but it just makes it easier for you and more readable when you get back to the code later. So after giving a name, you specify your list of arguments. Maybe you don't have arguments, it doesn't matter. It depends on the functionality of your function. And with the colon here, you specify the return type. So unit return type is optional, as every function that doesn't return anything, the return type of it is unit. So you could delete it and the function will work just as before. What if we want our function to return something that we could save in a variable, for example, and use it later with other calculations or operations? We could specify its return type. So instead of making our function print the sum, we will make it return the sum. So we will print the sum in the main instead of printing it within the function. So let's just get rid of this line here and make our function return an integer. Now, you see that the compiler gives you an error saying that you missed something here. So for that, we have to add, or we have to return the value. So for that, we use the return keyword. And the return keyword here helps you to return the value that you specified within the function signature. So here, I'm just going to say return sum. And now, whenever you have to call the sum, nothing will happen. So it doesn't print the sum anymore. So you're gonna have no result. Now, if we press on the function here and click Ctrl Q, we'd see that it returns an int. So we could use this int and save it in a variable. So I'm gonna have a variable called sum. I'm gonna make it equal to the function itself. And now this function is of type int as well. So now let's print the sum here within the main sum. Run the program, and here is the result. You may have noticed before that if we have the same variables that have the same name, we would have an error saying that the variable is already defined. So if I duplicate this line, we cannot have the same variable, even though if it has another data type, for example. But with functions, this is achievable. So let's make our function here more flexible. Instead of just having the sum or returning the sum of two integers, let's make it return the sum also of two doubles. So we can make a function named just like the other function, and here we have other data types, so double by double, and it will return a double. Let's have the same code here, and see, no errors. And this is called functions overloading. So whenever you have a function that does something with a data type and you want the function to do this also with other data types, you can have the same name, but make sure to change the function signature. So this is called the function signature here, which is starting from the name to the return type. So here I'm having two ints, and here having two doubles, having a return type int and a return type double. Though you don't have to change the whole signature of a function in order to have functions overloading. So say for example, I'm just going to change this function's return type to an int, and it will just work as before, but we just have to convert this to an int and here to an int, like so. So whenever you want to have this overloading, make sure at least to change one thing of the signature. So if this was an int, it will work, but if this one was an int, then we'll have an error because we have two functions that do the same thing and return the same thing. So make sure at least to change one thing within the function to have functions overloading. Let's just have other exercises just to get familiar with functions. So I'm gonna make a function that returns the first and the last character of the username. So here I'm gonna make a fun called get first and last, and it's gonna take a name of type what, type string, and the return type is gonna be just an array of characters. So array, and within the diamond bracket you specify the type of the items that you wish to store within this array. So just a character here. Now we open the body and we try to get the first and last character of this name here, which you're going to pass later within the main. So let's make a val called first. It's going to equal to name dot first. We're going to make another variable called last equal to name dot last, and here I'm going to return array of, I can specify the type here, so char first and last. We could also get rid of the char as it has been inferred by the compiler, so get rid of it. And here we try with the user input. So val, println, enter your name, val name equal to readln, and then we use the function get first and last. We pass the name here, and the name returns an array of chars. So let's save it in a variable first and last equal to this, and we print to the user to tell him that the first character of his name is that and the last character is that. So first character is first and last dot 0 dot get 0, and the last character is first and last dot get 1. So we saved the first one at index 0 here and the last one at the index 1. Now I'm going to run the program. Let's just zoom out and see the result. So enter your name, and enter Astro. First character is A and the last character is O. Our last example for today will show you that you can use whatever you have learned so far with this playlist within a function. So we're going to make a function to print the username for an amount of times, and this amount of times is going to be specified by the user. So let's first write the function. So fun print my name for x, for example. X resembles the times for printing, and here the function is going to take a name of type string and what do you call it, times, for example, of type int, and it returns nothing. So I'm just gonna open the body directly here, and here I'm gonna make a for loop starting from 1 and ending at the times which the user specified. So let's make a for loop for I in 1 2 times, or to the limit. I'm not so creative with names, and here it's gonna print the name. So print name. Now let's use the function here. So val println your name, enter your name, and val name equal to read len, val println enter the amount, for example, amount for printing. So here I'm gonna save the amount, and amount equal to read ln dot to int. Make sure to convert to int, and here I'm gonna call our function. So print my name for x, and here it takes a name, so I'm gonna pass the name, then the amount of times we want the loop to print our name. Let's run the program. Enter your name, Astro. I want my name to be printed for 5 times, and here we got 5 Astros. So that's it for today's video, and in the next videos we are going to discover more interesting stuff about functions. So we're going to have a couple of more parts of videos about functions, and I wanted to end it here in the video here with a special println statement here. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.